Well, this one's certainly been around a couple of days. An Admiral VCR, look at that. 4-head, 181 channels. So this one has a Montgomery Ward model number, JSJ20416. It's just a standard mono VCR. It's not hi-fi stereo. So I have it plugged in. The clock is blinking with dashes. So I have a VHS tape here. Let's just go ahead and put it in and see what happens. Didn't like that. Okay, interesting. Now the customer told me that if you continue to try to insert this tape enough times, it will eventually take off and it will work. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm getting tired of trying. I do hear a belt maybe slipping. I hear a motor grinding when I try to put this in. So let's go ahead and take the top off and see what it looks like inside. So let's go ahead and put the tape in it now and see what happens. Okay, here we go. There, it took it that time. And what I saw different is this belt right here was slipping the previous time. So let's go ahead and get it back out. So I'm going to add a slight amount of drag right over here. I'm just going to put my finger on it while I try to load it. And the belt's slipping. You can probably hear it. Never took it that time, no problem. So I think we're just looking at cleaning and deglazing this belt. Once again, we're going to use some acetone to clean and deglaze that belt and the pulleys. Okay, so this is the loading mechanism. Now the belt is captive. I can't just peel this belt off and get it off. It's held in place. I have a little bracket back here and I can't get the gear loose to completely remove the belt. I want to take the belt completely off. So I'm going to pull the complete carriage loading mechanism out of this unit. Now to do that, I need to first remove the front panel completely. Now on the top, there's tabs. Just lift up and it releases just like that. Now I see 2 tabs on the bottom, but the 3rd tab is captive with the bottom metal plate. So let's take the metal plate off. Then you can pull the complete front off of the VCR. Now these Sharp manufactured VCRs are actually pretty well built. Got a bracket right here we're going to pull off. 2 screws come out. 1 ribbon cable unplugs. And now the cassette loading mechanism should just simply lift up and completely out of the VCR assembly. So now that I've got the mechanism out, I still need to get this belt off. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this circuit board right here. It's got a couple plastic tabs that kind of hold it into place. Just got to release them both at the same time. Now the board's completely free. It's hanging down right here. Now this has a switch that detects when the tape is actually in, and it has the photo receiver to detect when the tape is at the beginning, because there's an infrared LED that sits up here in the middle. So this detects when the clear leader is exposed to stop the mechanism. Now over here on the other side, there is another photo receiver and it detects when it's at the end of tape. So now that I've got this up and out, this thing should just simply slide out of here. I should be able just to lift it up and out, and I can pull the worm gear and everything completely out. And now my belt is free. So you may have seen my Sony CD repair video where I submerged the belt in acetone and let it soak for about 24 minutes. Put it back on, it worked absolutely perfectly. I'm not going to submerge it and soak it for 24 minutes, but I am going to pour some acetone on the belt and run it around for a little bit with my fingers, and then I'm going to get a paper towel and I'm going to clean and deglaze the belt and remove all of the contamination from the belt. Now people have said You should not use acetone on a rubber belt. Like I said in previous videos, many times I've used acetone for close to 40 years. It's been about 38 years since I started doing electronics repair, and I've always used acetone. I clean circuit boards with acetone. It removes the flux from soldering. I clean the capstan, the pinch roller, even the video heads with just a simple cotton swab and acetone, and never had any adverse effects. So I'm just going to start and pour just a bit of acetone on the belt. You can see it in there right now. I just want to run it around a little bit with my finger. Flip it over. I'm going to grab a paper towel and we're going to clean it. So I have a simple white paper towel. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm just going to take the belt out. And what I want to do is put the belt and crease the paper towel over it. Now I'm going to soak up some acetone with the belt. You can see the darker area right there. And then I'm just going to add some pressure with my right thumb and finger. And with my left thumb and finger, I'm going to pull the belt through the paper towel. And you notice I just rotated it like that, because effectively I'm only cleaning one half of the square. There's 4 sides to the square. I'm only cleaning 2 of those sides. And then you can see how much contamination I got off the belt. We'll dip it, do it one more time. I think we need to do it a 3rd time now. There we go. So you can see on the first pass we got quite a bit, second pass a little less, third pass even less than that. Now you could probably do this 5 or 6 times until there's very little residual contamination left behind. Okay, so there's my passes. I can tell you right now, just by feeling the belt, it is very much deglazed. It had a glaze to it before, which allows slippage. So I still have some liquid acetone. I'm going to dip a cotton swab into the acetone, and then next I'm just going to clean the pulley that the belt rides in to deglaze that also. We want the glaze off of this. Now, according to the date on the front loading carriage mechanism, December 10th, 1992, and it's currently November of 2019. This thing has some days on it. So that's all cleaned off. It looks great. I actually did this one more time off camera, and this is the second pass. So I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this now. I'm just going to lay the belt in the correct groove here. Now this end has a little receptacle here, a little plastic bushing that it rides up into. And now we have to get all the slots realigned here, okay. There we go. So there's a fork right here that determines where the mechanism is actually at, and that all slides back together. So make sure the fork is in this groove of the sliding mechanism. This engages and disengages the carriage mechanism from the loading motor. Snap the board back in, it's ready to go. So now before I put the mechanism back in, I'm going to go ahead and take off this loading belt, and I'm going to treat it the same way with the acetone. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to deglaze the pulleys with a cotton swab. Now this belt I don't have to do anything special to. I could just peel it off of the pulley and it completely comes out. Acetone in the Pyrex, cotton swab, rotate the motor by hand. A little bit of contamination, not too bad. This one's going to be the bad one, I suspect. You can actually see it on there. Look at that, how much cleaner it is after I passed the cotton swab over it. Look at how much came off. We'll dip it a second time, scrub it back the other way, at least one full turn. Same thing on the motor. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the belt back on. I almost called it the new belt. It's not a new belt, it's an old belt. Just serviced. This is what engages and disengages the front loading mechanism. It actually moves in and out depending on how it rides in the grooves of this cam gear. So now it's hard to see, but if you look very closely, there's a couple of little tabs. You can see one very clearly right here, and the other one is right up here. They actually stick into a couple of slots down here. There's one slot, there's the other slot. So when you go ahead and put this back in, make sure that you tip it down at first and allow those to fully engage. When they're engaged, you should be able to lift up the whole mechanism even though you haven't screwed it down yet. Make sure your belt stays on the right side of the pulley when you engage this. There it is, locked in place. Peel the belt back on here. 2 screws go back in. Now we need to plug the ribbon cable back in. Let's go ahead and power this baby up, put a tape in it, and see if we get favorable results. Wow, worked perfect the very first time. Let's eject it. So you can see the fork move in and out as it commands the carriage mechanism to activate. So the first time I held my finger on the shaft right here, and I added a slight amount of drag. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Let's see if it loads. Oh, it loaded perfectly. You can even hear it bogging down. So how much more did we gain by cleaning that belt? I'm going to go ahead and try to actually stall this a little bit and see what happens. Just grab this. Oh, I can stop it now. Absolutely stop the loading motor. That is absolutely great. It's not slipping any longer. So let's go ahead and, just as a customer service, we'll go ahead and clean the capstan belt. This is the capstan motor right here. This actually drives the capstan shaft to the pinch roller. But this is the take-up belt. And this idler right here swings over to either pulley depending on which direction we're commanding. And there's actually a clutch mechanism that puts it in the high torque or the low torque mode, depending on whether we're playing a tape or fast forwarding and rewinding a tape. Because in play we want a limited amount of slip so that we can take up the tape with not too much torque, just enough to pull it back into the cassette. Now in fast forward and rewind, we want absolute maximum torque. We want to zip that tape in and out as fast as we can. So let's go ahead and see, is it slipping? Doesn't take much to cause it to slip. I'm barely dragging my finger on this. I'm probably putting an ounce or 2 on this motor right here and it causes it to stall. So let's go ahead and clean that belt the same way with the acetone, and then we'll go ahead and clean the pulleys as well with the Q-tip. Now I do see a problem right here. I see a crack in this pulley. Look at that. So this was cast a little bit smaller than that brass bushing right there. They slipped the pulley onto it, and because the brass is larger than the cast diameter of that pulley, it may cause it to crack over time. And what that does is, look at that, I can actually turn this in relation to the brass. So normally what happens, if it gets bad enough, you can't fast forward or rewind your tape because this thing is slipping. So normally in this situation, I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to heat up the platter with my hot air rework station, add a dab of hot glue to it, and then press this back into place and let the hot glue cool, and it's going to set this so it does not slip any longer. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the belt, and then I'm just going to lift up very gently on this pulley, and look at that. It just came right off. Now, because I want a clean surface to bond to, I'm going to add some more acetone to my Pyrex dish. I'm going to get another cotton swab, dip it in the acetone, and now I'm going to clean to make sure I have an absolutely clean surface to bond my hot glue to, as well as I'm going to clean the inside of the pulley so I have a good surface to bond to on that. I'm just going to dip my belt and run it through the acetone. It's good and wet. And put it back in my paper towel, soak up some acetone, and we're going to go ahead and wipe it. Turn it 90 degrees, and wipe it again. We'll once again do that 3 or 4 times. Feels much better already. Wow, it's really got a lot of grab now. It's actually pulling the paper towel in between my fingers. It has so much grab. One more time. There it is. Definitely much, much cleaner than when we started. And you can actually feel the rubber now. It's not slick. So we'll get the Q-tip. Now I can only clean this one at this moment. So I'm going to scrub it. Wow, you can actually see how much contamination is coming off of that pulley. Look at that. I'll change ends, redip. Much better. Look at how much cleaner that is. Alright, so I think I have all my ducks in a row. I've got my hot air rework station right here. And I'm just going to heat up the capstan motor where the bushing goes so that as soon as I add my hot glue, it's not going to cool instantaneously. Alright, I've got my hot glue gun. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick little squirt here. You can see it going on there. Next I'm going to go ahead and place the pulley back in place and just push it down. And now we'll give it a few minutes to cool and see if we got any progress. So I know it's still warm, but we'll go ahead and take the acetone and we'll go ahead and clean the pulley real quick while it's cooling. The evaporation of the acetone will actually help it cool faster. So that should be cool enough. Feels very cool at this point. So I cannot move the pulley on the capstan motor anymore. So let's go ahead and put the belt back on it. There it is. So let's go ahead and flip it over, put a tape in it, and make sure it plays at this point. Alright, here we go. Tape in. It loads, the cylinder starts, and we'll hit play. The reels are moving, it's taking up the tape. So I would say we have a successful fix on this unit. Let's hook it up to a monitor and see what we have. Press play. And look at that. So the unit's working fine. Let's go ahead and clean the heads, the capstan, and the pinch roller, as well as the tape guides. So I'm going to take the tape out. So now in my videos, I've always tried to make this as simple as possible for the regular guy who wants to do this at home. So I have my acetone and a paper towel, the same one I used to deglaze the belts. I'm going to dip it in the acetone. Now I'm going to scrub the pinch roller up and down as I slightly rotate it to get the glaze off of it. And I can tell you it's going to be nasty because this thing is shiny. Look at that. So I'm going to move to a different location on my paper towel. Redip. I'm very lightly with my left finger rotating the pinch roller while I scrub it with my right finger. So it's really hard to tell on the camera, but when I started this, the pinch roller was really shiny and glazed from years and years of playing back videotapes. So look at that. There's the first scrub, there's the second, and then there's the third. What a difference, huh? So I'm going to go back to an unused portion of the paper towel, redip it. Maybe hard to see, but there's actually lines of dirt on the capstan shaft. So I'm going to scrub that as well. Really can't see it on the camera because my big fat hand's in the way. But you can see how much that actually came off right there. I don't know if you can see it now, but it's perfectly clean. There's no lines of the tape on the capstan shaft any longer. It's very clean. So now let's clean the rest of the mechanism. Dip it in my acetone, and we'll start by cleaning the video head. Now, this is the video cylinder, and it's really hard to see on the camera, but right down here there's a little gap. That's the video heads itself. That's the other set of video heads. They're right under these adjustments. Now there's two Allen set screws that adjust the height of the video head here and here. You don't want to mess with those. Those are factory presets. So now to clean the video heads, you just want to scrape in a linear motion forward and backwards. And I'm only cleaning the cylinder at this point. Now I'm wiping off the head. Now the cylinder only. And so now I'm raising the Q-tip slightly on the cylinder, and now I'm just going to rotate the cylinder and completely remove any contaminations. So if you look at your video cylinder and you see these little lines on here, those lines have a definite purpose. There's 5 grooves etched into the video cylinder, and their purpose is to capture air so that the tape actually floats and never contacts the video cylinder as it's turning. So the tape actually floats on the cylinder, does not contact the video cylinder, but it does make contact with the video head because the gap right here causes a little bit of a vacuum. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the bottom half, the stationary part of the cylinder. And keep in mind that as I'm scrubbing the cylinder, the stationary portion, I'm actually turning the video heads as to not make any contact with them as I'm scrubbing. You want to just scrub the cylinder portion and never make contact with the video heads. So now I'll clean the erase head. This is the full erase head. It erases the full path of the tape. The guide roller. This is part of the back tension mechanism. The supply angle block. The supply angle roller, the back tension take-up arm, the take-up angle roller, and take-up angle guide, a new cotton swab, the audio erase head, and the control audio record head. So the top of this head up here records the audio track, the bottom records the control track, which is referenced to the vertical blanking interval signal. And then we'll go ahead and clean the take-up guide as well. So we'll go ahead and put the tape back in it. Make sure it loads. And make sure it plays. I do have video on my screen even though you can't see it. It's working absolutely perfectly, loading perfectly the first time. So now that the unit is up and running, let's go ahead and put the front panel back on it. So it's in the play mode, as you can see right here. So one thing you want to make sure of when you snap the front panel back on it, that you actually open the door first, because this little lever right here is what's responsible for opening and closing the door. The lever opens the door right here. If you get this on the wrong side of the lever, it'll never open the door up. So make sure your lever is in the down position. Open the door up fully. And then go ahead and snap it back into place. Make sure the door functions normally. And then with all the tabs attached, we'll go ahead and try to eject it. And we have to make sure that the door actually opens. And it does. Absolutely perfectly. So I certainly hope you enjoyed this video on the Admiral VCR repair made by Sharp. If you enjoyed this video, please consider making a donation on my YouTube homepage with the PayPal donate button, or at paypal.me/norcal715. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and ring that bell to get future notifications. Remember, with your help, we can keep these things out of the landfill and out of the recycle bin. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.